Hi, my name is Matthew, and today we're going to be talking about organic vegetable gardening. We're here at Earthworks in my organic vegetable garden that we've been operating for the last 4 years consecutively. We have been pulling vegetables out of this garden every single month of the year. I want to encourage you today that it is possible to grow healthy, delicious organic vegetables in Northeast Florida, but the first thing that we really need to consider is choosing the right site. This site right here is located in a very sunny position. Most of your vegetables are going to want full sun, which means about 6 hours of sun per day. Besides full sun, the other consideration that you want to take into account is space. If you don't have enough space for a large vegetable garden, such as a 10 by 12, you might want to consider breaking your vegetable garden into smaller units, such as a 4 by 4 or a 3 by 10, and it's all going to depend on your space in your backyard. The first thing that I like to talk about when we're talking about organic vegetables is dark, healthy, rich soil. When you're putting together your soil mix, you want it to be light, fluffy, dark, and it's going to be very similar to the consistency of potting soil. So I have a nice dark mix here. It's very crumbly, has a little bit of sand, humus, peat, vermiculite, perlite, manure, and all kinds of compost I've been adding over the seasons. Without this dark, rich foundation, vegetables will struggle in Northeast Florida. When I first moved to Florida, I tried planting vegetables in our sandy soil, and unfortunately, after a few months, I realized that the sandy soil was not enough to support the life that a vegetable needs to produce healthy, vibrant, luscious, and delicious vegetables. So after my first season of failure, I had to look around, I had to see what other gardeners were doing, I had to ask a lot of questions and do some research. And fortunately, I found some experienced gardeners who were able to teach me many things regarding soil structure and soil consistency. Our sandy soil does not hold the nutrients that plants need to produce flowers and to produce fruit. Fortunately, there are a lot of things that we can do to either build up our soil in the ground or into a raised bed. Raised beds tend to be easier because you can really control what's going into the soil bed itself. When you're mixing into the ground, you're either going to have to excavate a lot of soil or you're going to have to add in a whole lot of dark, rich matter to compensate for the sand. So I usually recommend using a raised bed or doing it in containers. You'll want to use either potting mixes when you're going into containers, or if you're going into large vegetable beds like this, you'll want to buy some bulk mix. Many garden centers and soil distributors call it like a number 3 mix or a potting mix, or even a dark topsoil is a good place to start. I use the number 3 mix, which has a little bit of broken down compost, it has a little bit of pine bark that's been broken down, and it has a real nice loose structure. Once you get your soil into the ground, you're going to want to also consider irrigation. Now, a lot of times we have hoses in our backyard that can reach to our vegetable garden, but if that's not an option, sometimes having a irrigation system set up would be another option, because you're going to have to get the water to the plants when they need it, and that's going to be on a very regular basis, especially in the summertime. In addition to the soil, I want to talk about a few things that we add into the soil. Some of our most crucial elements that plants need are things like bone meal, which provides your phosphorus. Now, phosphorus is really important for root production and also for flower production. It also gives plants a little bit of calcium, which helps with blossom end rot. If you've ever grown zucchinis, certain types of tomatoes, and some cucumbers, a lot of times you can have problems with the blossoms rotting at the point where it meets the vegetable. Bone meal helps with that, and it also helps your flower production really crank out the vegetables. Blood meal is an additive that you use for nitrogen. Now, nitrogen is crucial for your leafy growth, your strong structure of your stems, and your trunk of your plant. It's going to give you everything you need to provide a lot of photosynthesis to create your vegetables. There's also an amendment in organic gardening that I like to use called Biotone. Now, Biotone is just a name brand, but there's a lot of different products that carry the things that are in here. But what I'm looking for is the mycorrhizae, and also I'm looking for the microorganisms that are added into the organic mix here. Now, microorganisms are little creatures that in nature are breaking down food for the plants. So what they're doing is organic matter in the soil is they're breaking it down into a form that's easily absorbed by the plant. So the plant has to do less work in order to produce the fruits and vegetables that you're looking for. The mycorrhizae is a beneficial fungus that coats the roots of the plant and helps ward it off against certain types of fungal issues, diseases, but it also makes the plant more efficient at its uptake of nutrients and water. Now, the microorganisms can be found in a dry form, but they could also be found in a liquid form. Now, in the liquid form, it's highly concentrated. You do dilute it according to the directions in water. You could put it in a hose end sprayer and spray it directly to your soil. If you have it in pots, it might be easier to mix it up into like a gallon container and then pour it in around your plants. But what you're doing basically is creating a colony of beneficial microorganisms that's going to create a relationship with your plant and help it thrive during the hot, dry months of the year. Now, you also have the option of feeding the soil. When it comes to organic gardening, you're not only just feeding the plants, but you're also feeding the soil. Organic gardening is adding layer after layer after layer, season after season, and these things stay in the soil for a long period of time. So what you can do is you can amend your soil with this liquid fertilizer. It's called Terratonic. It's a soil activator. It also feeds the soil. It feeds the microorganism and helps those colonies propagate and multiply in your soil. In addition to that, I like to have a liquid fertilizer for the plants. Now, a lot of people don't know that foliar feeding is actually a really good way to get nutrients to the top of the plant. Foliar feeds can be placed into spray bottles once diluted or put into a hose end sprayer and then broadcast across the tops of your plants. If you do this in the early morning or in the evening time, the plants are more able to absorb the nutrients at those times of day, and anything that drips down to the soil will then also be picked up by the root system and moved up through the plant. This is a really nice dark mix. It has things like fish emulsion, molasses, and some humic acid in it, as well as some nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash. It's very mild, and you could use this all throughout the year for all your herbs and vegetables. And we can't talk about organic vegetable gardening without thinking about pests. In the wintertime, pests aren't as bad, but the summer is really when the critters come out and want to start munching on the vegetables that we also want to be harvesting. So it's good to have a few tools under your belt. There's some biological microorganisms here that we use, 100% organic. They occur in nature. And what you're basically doing is mixing your bacteria into water and then spraying it on your plants. And then these bacteria are going to be crawling all over your plants on the microscopic level. When the insects start to chew on your plants, eat your leaves, suck on the stems, they're going to ingest this bacteria and it's going to kill them from the inside out. It's very effective, safe for us to consume, and it doesn't bother us one bit, but the insects definitely will be affected within 24 hours. The other item I like to have in my arsenal is neem oil. Neem oil is also highly concentrated. Not only is it a fungicide, but it also does affect insects and keeps them at bay as well. The neem is something that's very important to have on hand if you're growing things like cucumbers, any kinds of squash, pumpkins, tomatoes, anything that has the ability to grow fungus on it. Any of your vegetables and herbs that have soft, downy leaves that are very porous, the neem concentrate's pretty crucial because the fungus can grow and spread very quickly in the hot summer months when the humidity is very high. Now, I like to use neem every 10 to 14 days as a preventative maintenance to keep the fungus at bay. If I notice insects, I might up the frequency a little bit more, maybe once a week. And you can't really use too much of the neem in that it's very mild and very safe and only affects the insects that are around your garden that are munching and crunching on your vegetables instead of you. Now, when the summertime comes, it can be very frustrating in the heat of the summer. And the main thing that I like to think about when it comes to ensuring that my vegetable garden is going to be a success is that I have to know in the back of my mind that I'm going to be able to commit a certain amount of time to observing my vegetable garden. Observation is the number one thing you can do to ensure that your plants aren't being overridden by pests, disease, especially the fungus. The fungus, once it starts growing on a plant, you can go to bed one night and the fungus can spread over your plants within 24 hours. So observing your plants on a daily basis is crucial. That allows you to have time to go out there, observe firsthand exactly at what place the vegetables are at each given moment.